Hello, welcome to our weekly astrological weather. This is Carrie Astro Breeze, and we are going to look at, actually, I'm going to go through a couple of weeks, go through mid-March today, and look at the theme that we're moving into. So if we see today's chart, we've got a lineup where we have our full moon at 12 degrees of Virgo. We can see them lined up. It was this morning on the East Coast, and it was the red moon, the blood moon. We actually saw it. I didn't think we were going to see it because this part, the East Coast, was not in, how should I say, it was shaded. It would be getting deeper as we went west. So we did see it. It was close to sunrise. The sun was still below the horizon. You can see here, sun is below the horizon, really close to the node. And here's the moon. So we started looking, let's say this was culminating at 6:30, a little after 6, and it was definitely a red tone, and it had this kind of a white toenail on the bottom of it, which it was, then it covered it. It was cool looking. Anyway, we have this beginning of the month here, very interesting kickoff to it, and I have a few things I want to break down. I'm going to break this next 2 weeks into kind of three parts. So right now, this next few days, we have this Virgo Pisces tension. We've got emphasis on this Virgo Pisces axis because of the full moon right on that nodal axis. So we got that Virgo Pisces tension, and we've had that now, because of this the nodal alignment this year. But right now, it's even more intense because we have this lineup of planets in Pisces. So we're going to have this weighted group of inner planets in Pisces, and then the moon is opposing that, or it's opposing the moon. So it's like and I've got some stuff marked out here. So I've got it in three parts for the next 2 weeks ish. March 3rd through 5th, we have this Virgo Pisces tension. Again, we got a lot of it. It's time to clean up your life, that Virgo stuff, while staying attuned to your spirit. Pisces, right? The emotional and nervous system need gentleness. So we have emotions, especially, with the, coming off of this full moon, and then, the nervous system. So we have that axis that needs to be paid attention to. And then March 6th through 8th, we're coming in Friday, over the weekend. We've got a deep, and I'm going to go through this in detail, but I just want to give you a few key things here. So March 6th through 8th, the weekend, deep watery intuition spikes. So we get this Piscean hit, basically, revelations, dreams, memories guide you. It's like a time to really be tuned into that. It's just the best slide into this energy before it moves out. So it's good for inner work, good for creativity. It's that alignment with that behind the veil, that very thin veil. And then we go into March 9th through 11th as we go into the next week, in the middle of next week. We really get into the Aries fire starts to enter the scene. We're looking at courage, boundaries, self-assertion begin to matter more, and relationship patterns could flare. So just as this is important to realize this back and forthness with this time and energy for the next several weeks, because we're now in Pisces season, about to start again. And we just had the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries kicking it off, right? Starting again, we're having this new point. So when the sun actually hits that, that point, on the equinox this year, that when we get it on the 20th and then 21, 22, 23, when the sun is moving at those degrees, it's going to further resonate that, and it's going to feel more forward moving. But overall themes for now through the middle of the month, through the 15th, we have a heavy Pisces emphasis. You can see their sun, Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Right? We talked about the Mercury retrograded all the way back to, it goes almost, I should say it again. Mercury traveled all the way to 22 degrees Pisces, and then, retrograde. So then it's going back, and then it's going to go forward and to get back, over that spot again. So we're going to be in this heavy Piscean, Mercury Pisces for a while. That that foggy thinking. I'll get into it more in a minute. But anyway, Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. Venus likes to be here, so this is fine for the moment. And then North Node, all highly psychic, emotional, and a porous time. Boundaries are thin. Guidance is strong, but so is confusion and escapism. It's always a double-edged sword, right? But then the Aries ignition, that we got the Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron all in Aries. We got new cycles of courage, new identity, healing, responsibility for our anger and our initiative with Aries energy coming in. Then we also have, squaring over to that. We have Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. So, but it's trining the Pisces planets. So there's always a little bit of stuff here, but this is nice. We got the big, big planet Jupiter trining, as all the planets move through Pisces, they'll trine over Jupiter. So big emotional waves, family, roots, themes, powerful intuition, ancestral support. And then we have Pluto in early Aquarius. And so it's a subtle but a constant pressure to evolve collectively, rethink groups, tech, and the future. So you can read that stuff both collectively, to the all, and then as a background weather for your own chart. All right, so now we have this Virgo Pisces axis lit up. We've got the Sun 13 to 15 degrees Pisces, and that's applying to a few things. So later in this window, we have a tighter trine from the Jupiter retrograde in Cancer and wide conjunctions to both Mercury retrograde, because it's in Pisces, and to Venus still at the end of Pisces. So Moon in Virgo right now, opposing most of the Pisces cluster. Mars in early, very just snuck into the Pisces, moving forward slowly. Mars, I would say it, last week it was just at the end degrees of Aquarius, and it made that square over to Uranus, right? It's because it's like when it was at 27 degrees, it was making that square. So it did a quick punch over to Uranus and then quick ducked into Pisces. So look what we've got going on around the world now. We've got a little tip off toward, marching toward World War III or IV, however you want to say it. Went from cold to now hot. And it's going to get probably way more intense as we get the planets piling up in Aries. But then we also have these trines and sextiles coming in. So it's very, very dynamic times. Nonetheless, we had, Mars sneaking in here, just kind of did the, punched Uranus in the nose and then just snuck in here and is ducking out with the rest of the crew. So that's today, and then tomorrow we see it's pretty much the same sky. Tomorrow we have the Venus sextile Uranus. As Venus tracks closer to the end of Pisces. So this is very interesting. I'll get there in a second. But anyway, we have okay, we talked about all of those tones. Okay, so let's see what we're talking about. Okay, so emotional sensitivity is high. We have anything that's like a small slight might feel bigger, but so does compassion. So it goes, both ways. So don't read into something, too much. Oh, I wonder what they meant by that. Oh, look at that smirk on her face. It's like, really, don't read into it. Just come let that go. So compassion can override it because what you focus on is going to enhance. So that's that whole emotional Pisces versus the being too sensitive versus being sensitive. And then Mercury retro in late Pisces. So memory, dreams, subtle impressions are more reliable than linear thinking because Mercury Mercury is logical and, wants to keep sequence thought and wants to have things in a list. In Pisces, it's got to rely on intuition. It's not good at that. It's not its favorite thing. So it has to rely more on intuition. So this is a good time to really work on your intuition. Certain things that you'll mentally just do wrong. It's like, I've done this 1,000 times. Why did I screw it up? How come I didn't, whatever. You'll get these things, which is it's like typical Mercury retrograde, but even worse, Mercury retrograde Pisces. So anyway, the reliable linear thinking is going to get less. Paperwork or logistics or precision can be definitely fuzzy. So this time is really good because it's coming into spring in the northern hemisphere, at least. But it's really good for cleaning, organizing, editing, body care. Get your nails done, get your heels ground down, get your hair, coiffured, get all the winter grunge off of you, and also do inner work. The outer work too. To make yourself more presentable, but it's the inner part sometimes that you really need to work on and shine. Work on how you are as a spiritual being, not just the outer physical manifestation. So that is that Virgo. Pay attention to your hygiene and your health and your inner spiritual growth, Virgo Pisces. So reviewing old spiritual practices, healing methods, creative projects, all that good stuff. Okay, we talk about big intuition with all of this. We get the Sun and Mercury. So we're going to have Mercury, cazimi, moving in the heart of the Sun. It's already ahead of it. Let's see here. It's ahead of it at 19 degrees. Let's just go ahead and look and see when it actually goes there. It's when there's 16 degrees, and that is on Saturday. So between them, then, let's see. When we have I'll talk about more the Venus sextile Uranus. On Wednesday tomorrow. That's really just kind of maybe you might get an unusual hair. I mean, this might not be the best time to get your hair done. I mean, it might be a good idea, but going like that short or doing bald is, you're going to regret it the next day. So it might be just maybe getting an idea of a makeover or something, but it could be, I mean, just wait a day, like that crazy idea. If it still sounds good, on Thursday or Friday, maybe go for it. But, but anyways, it's something like come out of the blue, something, money, relationships, a way of handling something on Wednesday with, being creative with that energy. And they're both at the end of that sign. Let's see, let's go back. Boop, 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 there. So Venus at the end of Pisces, Uranus at the end of Taurus. Uranus, this is going to be the last time for 84 years, because this alignment of these two in this feminine sign here, because Uranus is going to go into Gemini, and then the next time that they have a sextile, it's going to be a masculine sextile. And this is the last of the feminine sextiles until Uranus moves into Cancer, but then there again it's not going to be a Taurus. So anyway, glean that, because this is really nice. It's Venus is in her exaltation in Pisces. And then reciprocally, her Venus is at home in Taurus. How cool is that? So Venus is like in control. So what this is kind of suggesting to me, like right now, before this kind of passes totally, and then Uranus is going to be there a little longer, but still with Venus, now is the time to really work on your inner vision, on imagining how you want things to be, and rewriting the old scripts of how you wish things maybe were. Not in a bad, weird fantasy, but maybe where you were wounded or wrong, or something didn't work out. Maybe rewrite how you would or could have had that better or turn out, and then just let it go. So it's kind of both ways with this, nodal part. Again, this is like a lot tying in right now, cleaning up a lot of timelines, a lot of stuff, a lot of ancestral stuff while we're putting forth the new foot into clean territory. It's like you get a new place, you want it clean before you move your stuff in. You don't want the old dirt there, kind of. So this is what we're being forced to do. But this is lovely, and we're moving so fast. I just have to slow down a little bit at a few of these things. So Venus, in her exaltation, before the anaretic degree, she's here really nice, making this nice sextile over to Uranus. So coming in today and tomorrow, as it's coming right in, it's like today, it's gonna be all week, and it has been. Venus is coming closer there. So really grok that fullness of what is it you really want? What is it that makes you happy inside, that you can then not only be happy and filled and content in yourself, but so it's so filled that it's overflowing. It's like the Ace of Cups. How can you Ace of Cups yourself? How can you fill yourself up with so much and so much self-love that it just bubbles over and that you can just be nice, be cordial, be friendly, be helpful, produce kind, all those good Boy Scout, Girl Scout things. Okay, so let's look at that a little bit, and then let's see what else I want to show you. All right, we talked about that. Okay, Venus, late Pisces, edging toward the anaretic degree, about to move into Aries, and then we've got Mars in the beginning of Pisces. It's a stronger presence in that emotional field, so that's supporting Venus. That's supporting that's like the masculine side is supporting the feminine side in all of us. It's like, honey, I've got your back. It's like, yes, this is the proper place to emote. You're not being a jerk or anything. You're emoting properly, and I've got your back. This is right. This is the kind of energy it's coming out. So it's also highly psychic. It's very dreamlike window, very dreamlike. It's time to dream it in, reel it in. Imagine a psychic fishing line pulling it in. The Sun Mercury combination, right? Mercury's going retro, and then that's going to go over the Sun in Pisces. So it's a quintessential download from the unconscious, sudden realizations from the past, symbolic messages, and out of nowhere insight, woo! With Jupiter retrograde in the middle of Cancer, it's forming an awesome water trine. So there's like a protective, cushioning quality, a nice emotional, and within the emotional intensity, but with spiritual support. It's like when you can channel that emotion into something, it's making it worthwhile rather than just intellectualizing. Part of the way of manifestation is putting that emotional feeling into something, not just intellectualizing. You can, that's just like thinking about stuff, and we have thoughts about things all day, but it's when you get emotionally focused is when it can charge up. So, but we got to watch for overwhelm or fatigue, or wanting to check out, you know, mixed or unclear communications. That's probably the biggest part. Again, reading into something or thinking you understood something. If anything's going to upset you, there's something wrong there. So it's like, get clarification before you get upset or mad or angry or choose to take any of those negative paths. So, people speak in hints and not straight lines, and a lot of people are working through things. So I always kind of try to err, if I can, on the Ellie Mae Clampett, give them the benefit of the doubt. And then if they don't, then call them out on their crap and be done. It's like, look, I thought you meant, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, but obviously I was wrong. You have to go there, don't be a doormat either. But anyway, best uses like journaling, dreams, and synchronicities, how things are lining up, revisiting old emotional stories, with compassion, not shoulds and shouldn'ts, not over analyzing it. And then softer creative work, softer art, softer music, softer collage and photography and poetry. We've got that Piscean influence. That's when it can really just touch your heart in just a lovely, lovely way. I like the word lovely with that. And then again, March 11th, 9th through 11th, we got Aries. The Aries fire ignites the way. What I want to tell you about in that before I show you the aspects here. Oh yeah, the key pieces, right? So we'll have Saturn at 2-3 Aries, Neptune at 1-2 Aries, and Chiron and deeper into Aries. So the Aries zone is heating up. Let me go over there here, and I'll come back. Let's see. So here, look, we can already see it. Look at they're now starting into Aries here. So Venus crosses over there into early Aries into this band, and then when Venus does, okay, it's moving from exaltation in Pisces, spiritual love, to more direct, impulsive, self-focused love and values. This is that point. This is the point from sleepy, dreamy to wake up, let's get going. So Mars, at 4 to 6 degrees into Pisces is still sensitive, but it's carrying a little bit more push. It's really, really wanting to get to Aries. Mars is at home in Aries. So it's like, okay, I'll put up with this so I can get over there. So the tone is now starting to change and pivot from the inner to outer. So the inner is all that Pisces stuff, which we're going in now. Soak it up, do it. Because you can see how quickly, you go back a couple days, this stuff started to shift. When did it there? Venus will be right there on the 6th. See, so we start to change as Venus goes in on Friday. And, then we have the moon opposing that. Of course, we've always got the moon doing something here, but moon is going to be in Libra, opposing to Aries stuff. So this is going to be, like the end of the week, there's going to could be a little bit more feistiness there. Anyway, the tone will go from inner to outer. And then where the beginning of the period was about sensing and feeling, now comes, what am I going to do about what I've realized? So as we're getting deeper into March, especially as we get to the equinox, more of this Aryan energy is going to come up. So relationship patterns can flare briefly. Need for independence, directness, honesty in love and money matters. Oh yeah, the typical Aries types of things. So watch out for irritability, especially if people aren't clear or straightforward. Or especially if you start to call people on stuff and they're worming, wiggling and worming and you're, squirming around, they're going to get irritable. Right? So old wounds around not being seen or not being allowed to assert yourself could be bubbling up a little bit. So best use is initiating small, courageous steps, conversations, few boundaries, some new actions, exploring how you can make your spiritual and creative insights, Pisces stuff, all that Pisces stuff, more bold, active, pioneering, moving, adventurous, fun. And then turning points in Pisces. Here's where we approach the last third of the Pisces season before the sun heads toward the equinox. So this is like the 12th through 13th. So middle of next week as we get toward following weekend. Okay. Sun will be at the end of Pisces, like right around where Mercury retrograded, right at 22 degrees. Pisces will be moving beyond the conjunction with the Mercury retro and into the last part of Pisces. So there, Mercury still retro in late Pisces. So we're tying off old storylines, but not totally ready yet for clarity. Because Mercury's still going to go direct on the equinox, and then it's still got to go travel through all that shadow. So Venus and Mars are going to be semi-sextile because we're going to have Venus like in early Aries and Mars is in early Pisces. But anyway, we have that Pisces Aries spot there, right at that line there. A desire to act on the deep feelings we've been stirring. This is really interesting that the bold, so Venus is taking the lead up there in Aries, and then Mars is still wanting to chase her, catch up. I want to be there, But that's what's kind of stirring us. And here we got this little push pull or this little chase going on with that. So we're the end of the cycle, the end of the Piscean energy. We're racing toward the new. We want to get closure. We got to clean the stuff out. We need forgiveness. We need to dissolve any resentments. But we need to be looking at keep our focus on certain relationships, habits, or spiritual paths that feel complete. Emotional waves that clearly belong to the past coming up for a final, looky-see and then release. We got to watch out for nostalgia and grief as something ends or clearly can't continue the way it was. And then temptation to idealize the past or fall into a martyr or victim role. That's always dangerous. That's always like the end of the Piscean stuff is that easy to do. Idealize the past. It's stuff that's not true, right? Oh, no, they weren't. That was just one part of them. And that's when things again fall into that real weird martyr or victim. So rituals of release, writing and burning letters, throwing things in the ocean, release into the wind, intentional decluttering, old photos, old emotional objects, getting rid of all that stuff. Being honest, this is done. What is being born now? And then, we're coming into the threshold of the Aries season. By the mid-month, or pre-equinox, we're close, right? So the intensity is building. Sun is getting at the end of that sign, and it will make its sextile over to Uranus. Let's see, watch the sun. See, it's all moving past 21, 22, 23, right? To 28 now. Okay, so right 19th. Couple days before the equinox, it makes its last sextile, just like Venus, they all do before Uranus changes signs. So this is the last of the inner planets making that sextile, that kind of beginning phase with Uranus in these feminine signs. So this is a big deal. This is this is kind of an end, definitely an end of an era. And then look, as we head toward the mid-month here, they already got us this far. Let's just go back a little bit. Look at the lineup. Let's just go to our 15th there. Then the moon, right around mid-month, moon and Pluto meet up too. So this is definitely a dynamic time. What else I want to tell you? Keeping your psychic sensitivity will remain high, but then there's a growing impatience with staying in the dream only mode. We want to move on. Watch for mixed signals, wanting both Pisces, resting and being in that dream spiritual space, but then, going for the opposite, wanting action in Aries. So it's impulsive relationship moves, born from, it stems out of being restless rather than clear intent. So watch that. It would just be, you're itching, ready to go, and it's not done yet. What else? Clarify the intentions for the upcoming, Aries cycle, because this is coming into the kind of like the astrological newness of the year. What do we want to start? What do you want to start after the equinox? What belongs to your soul path, Pisces, versus the ego-driven impulse, the Aries, right? Shadow Aries. Plan actions. You don't have to execute them all yet. And that's basically it. So focusing this week, mainly we have Venus moving into Aries. We have, the sun conjuncting Mercury again. That's like the sun and the Mercury fusing into that deep Piscean inner space, bringing that out. Venus, once it moves into Aries, it's going to conjunct Uranus. Let's go back to there. There, so 0, and then look at it at 1 degree. There we go. Right there. So it's right there. It was like, on the 7th. So that's kind of dynamic. So Venus goes over Neptune, all that very dreamy like stuff, Venus and Neptune, but it's in Aries now. So it was in Pisces. Remember the last year, it was the end of summer. They conjuncted for the last time in Pisces. We actually poured some resin pocket protectors with shungite and some other minerals in it on that day to, I think we put malachite and some other some Neptune stones in there to be that conjunction. Anyway, Venus Neptune, that last year that conjunction was in Pisces. Now it's in Aries, so we have a different flavor with this one. This one is going to be forward moving. This one is going to be more direct. This one is going to be maybe bringing that dream and vision, onto the stage, out into the open, ready to start it. It's like debuting it. It's bringing it out. It's like, okay, this is maybe it's still sort of my rough draft. I'm working on it, but this is my model. This is like I'm worked on. This is like the fresh beginning of this new whatever it is. And then it's going to meet up with Saturn the next day. So then it gets the little bit of the critique. It's like, okay, this is what I wanted. I wanted to know that it was weak over here and it looks kind of funky this way. I didn't see it because it was that way. It's like, working on art. If you work on a big piece of art, you have to get up close to it to work on it, but you have to step way back to see the whole impact of the whole thing. So this is kind of like what this is happening. Venus, with Neptune, it gets that idea, but it gets it in a more direct manner. And then when it hits Saturn, it's gonna be real quick. This is gonna be like bang, bang, boom, boom. In a few days, you kind of get this, and then as it goes over Saturn, and later on the weekend, and then coming into Monday, right there, you get more of the clarity. It's more of the plans, the workability. There, that's the word I want. The workability, I like that. The how to. Because Aries is forward moving fast, and then it likes to move and to make real of things. So going over Saturn is going to take the advice. It's going to be a good, one of the hits here with the Venus conjunct Saturn. I think if it's in Aries, it's much more manageable because it's like, yeah, tell me what I need to do. I want to make this work. Tell me how I can make this work. And Saturn will tell Venus how to make it work, and Venus will do it in Aries. If it was in Pisces, it went back to sleep. That's what happened last year. So anyway, that's the week, kind of 2 weeks ahead. And I guess that's it for now. Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching and listening. Let me just go forward here so you can see the lineup as we near the end of the month here. See the big lineup? I mean, the middle of the month. Big lineup here. Things are heating up in the world too. It's important to just keep the whole world in a prayer, sending positive, not fear, positive energy to maybe pull back how, the insanity, how close humans must come to something before maybe finally seeing truth and light. So if you're hearing this, send thought, love, prayers. I think it's especially now to try to do that as much as possible during the day. Get out of our own petty head and interests and send waves of love to the planet. All right, that's it for now. Thank you for being here. Bye for now.